Welcome to the Wealth Rules Podcast. I'm your co-host, Vicki Helm, and I have my co-host partner, Monique, right to the next to me, and we are going to rock your world today. We have a
Yes.
subject and a topic that is going to rock your world. Welcome to the show, and how are you? How are you doing? I want to say hi to Bucky. Thank you for being here. Thanks for
Hi, good
joining us
morning,
today.
Bucky. Well, I don't know where you're at, but good afternoon if you're on the East Coast. I am excited, Vicky, about today's topic. I
Me
don't
too.
know if the audience is ready, but I think this is one of the best conversations that we've had or are going to have thus far that the audience can really apply to their life and really get a clear understanding on
Yeah.
what wealth is and how to apply it and grow it and build it.
Yeah, and this is a really important time. I just want to say this. If you haven't watched last week's Wealth Rules, you need to go watch that first. Those are the 7 R's that we are going to talk about. What we're learning is how to build wealth that you steward, not wealth that you become permission based. If you know how to steward your wealth, you'd probably make different choices in your life. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I want to talk about the truth. I want to give you the truth today, the actual data you have. You have your form of AI. You can go look any of this up.
Mhm.
But the hard part of creating wealth isn't getting rich. Getting rich is the easy part.
Yes, agreed.
Say what you wanted to say, because I know that a lot of people don't understand. They think getting rich is that's the whole deal. Get rich and now I'm rich and so I've arrived. And I think for me, I want to share
Hmm.
that that isn't arriving. The hardest part is staying rich. It's not getting rich, it's staying rich.
Yes.
And a lot of people will lose their, hey, PB and J, nice to see you on. A
I
lot
love
of
that
people
name.
will lose just because they don't know how to stay rich. They
Yes.
get rich, and what is it? I forget the data, but people who win the lottery, they're broke again in like 2 to 3 years after they've won millions
Yes.
or something.
Yes. They don't keep it, and I don't blame them only because the dream is to get the money. That's why you play the lottery. You
Hmm.
want to win a large lump sum of money because you want to have a life changing experience. The dream I'm sure that everyone is having is I want to get a better house. I want to send my kids to college. I want to be able to go on nice vacations.
Yeah.
Typically, the people who are playing the lottery are the ones who are dreaming big. They get the money and they do what even people with high earning, incomes do. They spend it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't, and they weren't taught how to take the riches and build continual wealth. They don't
Yes.
know how to steward it.
And they're told the wrong wealth to continue with.
Yes.
So I know that a lot of people who come into big sums of money, or let's just say you finally got that professional job, you're making 500,000 a year, and you're coming over here and you're saying, okay, now I'm not just a worker, I'm an investor.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, you're an investor. And so you think, I invest in the market. I have mutual funds. I have a retirement account. I have a 401k account. I have all of the private equity stuff. I invest in real estate deals. I invest. And the thing is, they tell you don't put all your eggs in one basket. And what you can't see is the investor basket is all permission based. It's you giving your money to someone else to oversee it, to hopefully get you a return. And they pitch you good stuff like, well, if it only earns 8%, oh, this is going to make 14%, or you're going to get 20% back on your money. And suddenly your mind starts losing it. And you start not seeing that you no longer have control of your money. They do.
Mhm.
You no longer have control of your money. So, in order to stay rich, you have to look at what you're investing in because that's permission based,
Right.
or you learn how to steward your money first. And then once it's stewarded, then if you want to be an investor, fine. If you want to go to the casino and gamble a little bit, you can. I mean, that's kind of the thing.
I would venture to say that they need to get educated first and get that mindset shift first.
Mhm.
Only because you can have a financial advisor, and I have friends who are financial advisors, so that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not talking against them. What I'm saying is that once you get into that bucket, which I think is the same bucket, right? The investment, the permission base, that you don't control it and you don't own it. Like, what do you actually own? And so
Yeah.
you're investing over here. But what's keeping me up at 2 o'clock in the morning was the fact that, okay, I've invested over here, but what happens if the market takes a downturn? What happens if something happens that I don't have control of?
What
Then,
if you wanna exit?
yes. Oh,
Yeah,
forget the exit. You're not exiting. I
that's
did the
right.
math on that. So if I exit, I'm getting penalized. Then they're going to tax me on it.
Mhm.
Now, if I want to take a loan out, I got to pay that back with interest.
Mhm.
I'm not taking it out unless I have a vehicle to put it in that makes more sense. So you this is a financial advice, so you got to get with your own financial planner. But they don't have the mindset shift that I think comes along with the stewarding of the wealth.
Yeah.
So when they get the high income, because they don't teach you in high school, they don't teach you in college, even though you're going there to get the job, it's a behavior that's learned. So now I got the good job, I got the degree, I'm making, my career do what it's going to do. I'm climbing the ladder, the corporate ladder, and I am spending versus saving. I am spending versus building wealth that I control and own.
Yeah.
Now I'm out here just in debt up to here, barely keeping anything afloat. So
I know.
you need more than one stream, and that's why I think
Yeah.
you have those millionaires who weren't taught anything, got the money, happy, spent it, flying
Yeah.
out, traveling, having
Broke.
experiences they never experienced, and then they go broke.
I don't remember which book it is in. I'm gonna give some data from my book, Cash Flow Mojo: How to Get Rich, Stay Rich, and, live a life that you love. But I remember a long time ago in the '70s, I remember reading this story about Ted Nugent. And
Mhm,
Ted Nugent is called Uncle Ted. I mean, he's a very conservative dude, but he's a big time rock and roller from the '70s era. And he had millions and millions and millions of dollars. And he had so much, he got some money managers to manage his money. And
mhm,
one day after he did a concert in front of 70,000 people, hey, everybody just jumped on. Hi, is that Kita? Kita, I hope I didn't slaughter your name. And thank you. So the cash flow mojo, thank you. There, the book is there. But one of the things that's inside this book is the story of Ted Nugent. He has this big California Jam concert, 70,000 people. He comes off stage, and his manager over there is saying, thank you for the greeting. Katie says, greetings, ladies. So, anyway, he comes off the stage and they throw a towel around him and they're walking him down the stage and they're telling him, you're broke. You can't even afford a plane ticket. And what happened was his money managers, while while Ted Nugent was flying coach instead of getting private planes that
mhm.
he could
Right.
have got himself private
Mhm,
planes, but he was being conservative with his money and trying to build his wealth and everything else. And these men, what they did was they spent all his money. They flew
terrible.
first class and
Oh my
they
god.
bought shares in farms that didn't exist. I mean, they just blew through his capital. And these were professional money managers. Now, that's not just one story. I can go over and over and over and over and over and over and over where the wealthy have become targets of money managers, planners,
Yeah.
analysts, and
Mhm.
everything else that are going to take care of your money. Well, here's what I know. Nobody takes better care of my money than the woman who worked that hard to get the money. So, in the words of Donna Summer, we all know we work hard for the
All for the
money.
money.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah.
And so, what happens when we get hard for the money? Now, here's the data I want to share with you. I'm literally going to pop my book up for here so I can see the data.
Mhm.
But did you know that most people can get themselves in the top 1% earners in the world for just about 1 year? Now
Yes.
that stopped me a little bit because I was thinking to myself, how is that possible that you can it seems like once you get there, you arrive and you're part of this club and you're
Mhm.
not going to lose it. You're not going to go back to sleep. But then we look at the data for people who win the lottery and they're like suddenly millionaires overnight and then they lose it in the next 24 to 36 months. So so the picture that's painted for us is that once you become the 1%, you stay the 1%.
Mhm.
But according to a study that was done at Cornell University, it's over 44 years,
Mhm.
people aged 25 to 60, so it was their entire career.
Right.
The results were that it turned out that about 12% of the population found themselves at the top 1% of the income distribution for at least 1 year.
Mhm.
So in somebody's career, it's like 1 year. So then again, it's like 39% of Americans will spend a single year in the top 5%, and 56% will find themselves in the top 10%. And a whopping 73% of the American people will find themselves in the top 20%.
And
That's really the truth of it. People don't know how to stay rich in the richest country in the world.
I think one factor is that whenever you have a life event that makes you rich,
Mhm.
like for instance, the crypto wave, when Bitcoin hit, a lot of
Mhm.
people became rich. Stock options,
Mhm.
inheritance.
Yeah.
You have a family member that leaves you a lot of money, or whenever you have just anything, you can sell a home. Nowadays, you can do a lot to
Yeah.
get to that point. But again, because you haven't been taught,
Yeah.
why would that be the case? Why would you only be able to keep that amount 1 year? Now I remember uh the real estate guy in Florida.
Grant Cardone.
Yes,
Grant
Grant
Cardone.
Cardone. Thank you. He was on the Millionaire Show where he disguised himself. He didn't know
Yes,
anything,
that's
anyone.
right.
But if you lose something, if you know how to build wealth, you lose
Mhm.
everything today. You know how to
Mhm.
build it back up tomorrow.
Just that way.
You can
Mm,
start a
yeah.
business, lose a business. You can get money,
Yep.
lose money, get money again, and
Yep.
understand those cash flow veins that keep you there and sustain you. They took away
That's
his
right.
friends, his contacts, his look, placed him
Mhm.
in somewhere he didn't know anything. That's
Yeah.
the wealth part. That where you can grow your money and sustain your money and not be in the 1%. I'm sorry, in the
And
10% that loses it.
that's the interesting point of what she's saying, because while we have all these people, "All right, I did it, I made my million, blah, blah, blah." We, as a country, create about 2,000 millionaires, new self-made
Mhm.
millionaires a day. Just a day in this country, and that's still what's there. It's so interesting. So last week we talked about the 7 R's,
Yes.
but this week I want to give away something that is super important to understand. If you want to stay rich, you have to steward your money first.
Mhm.
What they tell us to do is invest our money first. So when the money comes in, you become dependent and permission based. Once your money goes over here, you don't have control over it. So if you have a illness that happens or some resource
Mhm.
that you need, they tell you have a 6 months emergency fund. That is not going to work for you. And now you're going to have to rob. I saw some data. It was like 60% of the people or more have had to rob their 401k with all the penalties and dues and taxes and
I'm
everything
sure.
else
I'm
to
sure.
manage an emergency. And there's that data that says, most of the American families can't handle a $500 emergency. I'm like, okay, that has to stop here. And the reason you can't is because they've made it really sexy for you to give them their money. You can say, yeah, I'm in the Vanguard fund, or I like Fidelity, or I
Yeah.
like this or that. It makes you feel so important, so sexy, so this. So here's the thing. We're going to take this permission based thing and see it for what it is.
Right.
And we're going to come over here and talk to you. There is a difference between income streams, passive income, cash flow, and cash flow veins. And what happens is they try to get you into passive income first. Why?
Mhm.
Because passive income is still permission based. Passive income now, it's like, well, I have this real estate investing. And what happens is I get a monthly check coming in and I really like that. I really like that. And it's like, right, you have access to a cash flow, a passive cash flow. And
Mhm.
what happens is you're pitched every day on the internet. Get this, buy this, do this, have this. This is going to make you rich, 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 rich. And the greed button that wants to be belonging to this elite group of people that are investing and belonging to this Lux group. Do you have some? I didn't see. Go ahead, say it.
I just want to interrupt you just for 1 second and
Mhm,
share this with the audience because I know they want you to earn well,
mhm.
to spend well, and then because of branding, right? Even Vanguard and all the fidelities and everything, when you make more money, then they want you to spend it on higher products. You no longer going to the drugstore for cosmetics. Now you're going to, Dior. Now you're going to Chanel. You're not carrying the Walmart handbag. Yeah, now they put these things in front of you so that you will desire riches,
That's
not
right.
so that you'll desire wealth.
That's right.
They want you to want the car. They want you to want and aspire to make more money so they can squeeze more money out of you because they know that you can do it. We have all these millionaires per day coming along. If they built their wealth, what would happen to the economy? If they owned and controlled what they had, how would that look? What would that switch look like? Because I know, coming from a wealth performer, I can say it, I'm not ashamed, that I was online.
You're gonna be Wealth Performance Anonymous.
Right. I'm starting a group. Anybody want to sign up? But I was I was online and I would look for the next phone with the best features. I was looking for the updated truck. I was looking for the car. That's what I'm buying next. This is what I'm doing next. This is what I'm leasing next. It didn't matter what it cost. I saw it. Okay, now I need to make this. Okay, so I'm selling more real estate. Fine, no problem. It's like a conditioning state. And we need to get conditioned. We need to get our brain to be on or in sync and aligned with wealth. Because all this spending and all being debt ridden, and then you're losing it, and then you can't get it back. You can't get the riches back because you didn't know how to sustain it.
And that's why we're talking about how to stay rich. And the
Absolutely.
how to stay rich is the first thing they're going to do is get you in debt. Isn't that the whole game? Welcome to college. It's $100,000 now to be Miss Thing. And so what happens is you get your Miss Thing degree and you go out and you're like, whoo, I finally landed that half a million a year job. Now I'm Miss Thing.
Right.
Now that I'm a zillionaire. Thank you, Alanis. But I look at this and I think to myself, once you're here, if you don't steward your money, they're going to talk you out of your money and make it look like you're stewarding it. So
Absolutely.
that stewarding it is permission based. Everything here, even if you have it, this investing isn't bad if your platform for wealth is completely done. And it's most people don't learn that. So let's talk about that for a second because there is a difference between, again, we're talking about income streams,
Hmm.
passive income, cash flow veins, and ownership. But cash flow veins are part of the ownership. The thing is, the income streams and the passive income sources are always permission based. So, for example, if you want to have a passive income stream, um, there's always an intermediary between you and that passive income. So
Yes.
there's a system they want you to buy,
Mhm.
or there is a requirement that you have to meet before you can get access to. So, for example, this was illegal back then, but they've done it. And it used to be that you buy gold ETFs and they're selling like wildfire right now. I think they say there's more gold ETFs than we have actual gold. So
Right.
now you have these buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. And in the contract, what they don't tell you is that you have to meet a certain amount of gold investment before you can access it.
Mhm.
So I have seen contracts that were $100,000. You had to invest
Yeah.
$100,000 of gold. So you didn't read the contract, you trusted the guy that was with you and you invested 20,000 in those gold things. And now something happens and maybe you need $5,000 with that gold. And
Mhm.
you can't pull the gold that you own
Right.
out of that contract because you haven't invested the 100 grand yet.
Yes.
So, oops, there goes this contract where that is kind of the passive thing where you have this thing. It makes you look wealthy, but are you really wealthy if you don't have access to your wealth without there being dues, penalties, controls, contracts from someone else?
Mhm.
That's how we get pitched these, passive income streams and etc.
Yes.
I know that a lot of REITs have those kind of contracts where they
Mhm.
can, oops, we lost all the money, so we need more money from you now, and you have to pay up.
You
If you
do.
don't pay up, then you lose everything you've invested in. So the thing is, there is a lot of these permission based and income stream kind of things where they tell you, we're going to build you an income stream and we're going to be able to tell you how much you're going to get per month. Now, I want to talk about dividends because people buy dividend assets on the market all the
Mhm.
time because they love the dividend.
We do.
However, the company, the board gets to sit down and say that year whether they're going to give you a dividend or not.
Mhm.
Somebody else is controlling the size of your dividend as well, how much you're going to get. So, what happens is you have no say over your money. And I want that to settle for a minute. You have no say over your money once it's there. If you come in and choose to power through and take it, about a third of it is going to go into penalties, dues, and taxes that you really don't need to have.
Mhm.
So if you have the gold piece and you need $4,000, you take the gold piece, you throw it on eBay, and eBay sends you the money right there. There's
Mhm.
nobody between you and your money.
Right.
That's a cash flow vein.
Mhm.
The cash flow vein is, I'm sorry, I lied to you. That's a cash flow. So you can take and make the cash flow from the asset you have directly to you. A cash flow vein is different. A cash flow vein is something that is reliable, doesn't need a lot of advertising that people are going to go through right now. So let me give you an example of a cash flow vein. We talked about this last week, so
Yes.
we're going to do it again. But babies, babies are a cash flow vein. As soon as mama becomes pregnant, there's this money layout that
Automatically.
it's for 18, 20, 25 years, the cash layout.
Mhm.
Mama needs whatever she needs to have the baby, then what she needs to keep the baby in her alive, and then primary school, middle school, college, all the way to them. There's this whole thing where childcare is never going away. The cost of childcare is going up.
Yes.
There is always clothes, toys, food, diapers, everything. So what happens is when you have a baby, you don't need to watch an advertiser go, "Welcome to the baby store."
No, you
You're
already know.
looking on the internet already going, "I need to find a baby store."
Mhm.
That's a cash flow vein. I need to find a baby store. Now, cash flow veins can go up from, primary cash flow veins to luxury cash flow veins. Like
Mhm.
if you're a billionaire, you're definitely getting a yacht built. But those cash flow veins, when you tap into them, like electricity, if you own electricity companies,
Mhm.
then you're pretty nobody's going, "I don't wanna have any more electricity. It's really hot, and I don't want my air conditioning to work." I mean, everybody's going to buy their electric. Everybody's gonna buy their gas. Everybody's gonna buy their food. Everybody's gonna, these
Oh, yes.
continuations.
Yeah, you
But
got to have that.
instead of putting your investments in over here, where you have a claim to wealth, the people in New York who own the local little grocery store steward their wealth. They
Yes,
have a cash flow vein that they don't people are gonna come in and buy groceries. That's how it is. You know what I mean?
absolutely. One of the things that I think also separates, we're talking about cash flow banks right now, but I think there's a system in place that, of course, we know, and we talked about this before we got on the call. But when you start thinking about the Rockefellers and you start thinking about branding and you start thinking about how Kellogg's, right, has so many different products.
Brands of
Yeah,
Syria. Yeah.
you can do cereal, then you can do craft. You can do so many different things where you can have the veins. And I don't think that people stop and say, this is my skill set. How can I get as much as I can from each area, from each R? How can I break it down? And I know we were talking about Substack and just making it plain for our listeners on the practicality of it. There is a need for the 7 R's if you want to build wealth. If you want
Yeah.
to be rich, you probably took a risk. You were an early adopter. Something happened. You got a great education. Fine. But when you want to build that wealth and you want to sustain it, you want to make sure that you can multiply it. I'm thinking about the babies, and
Word.
I'm a mom. And when I was younger, one of the things that I had to really understand, and thank God I had mentors and a brother who was there to help me and teach me this, like you did your father. But for the ones that don't, for the ones who only have a Vicky right now and a Monique, this is what we're telling you. If you just invest solely in one product, in one thing, in one job, what will happen to you and your income and your sustainability, your lifestyle, if that goes away? If you put in place cash flows and cash flow veins, you'll be able to say, okay, that one income stream on the left, but I have more than one. I can build upon that. I have access to more than one stream of income. And when
Yeah.
you're able to see that and multiply it, I mean, I started out young in real estate. I was in my early 20s. I was still in college. And then by the time, I'm doing my brick and mortars, I'm a young mom with a baby, but I'm still building because in my mind, I know, hey, I better have more than one. Because if they fire me, they give me the pink slip. I don't know what their numbers are. Typically I'll get stocks and they'll say, you want to vote on this and vote on that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what the numbers were, who won, which side, which vote won.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if my company or my bank is going to be there in order for me to continue working my 9 to 5. And it's not that it's not a great job. It's not that it's not great income. We're talking about building wealth. We're talking about the opportunity to not only have sustainable income, but leave a legacy. I
Yes.
don't want to not have, cash flow veins because I got a bunch of money.
I just
But
wanna
then,
say hello to Felicia right quick. She just said hello, and I was saying welcome. I think the point you're making is so important because we tend to think, and maybe it worked in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, I don't know. But we tend to think that one job should cover everything. My spouse has a job and I have a job. We have jobs. That's one form of income.
right.
But people see it as two forms of income. It's one form of income. We have jobs.
Hmm.
And what happens is you learn one form of income and then you think one form of investing should work. And it doesn't, it's risky. And then you think, well, I should have one business and my one business should cover everything. And I think what you just said about that is so important for people to understand. So the thing is, one is the loneliest number that you'll ever know. One is dangerous, one is
Yes.
unsafe. So
Yes.
the thing is, the opportunity that the internet has brought us is to have 9 of these cash flow veins coming in and working for us, and I mean 9, so that you're never dependent on one. That's how you stay wealthy. What happens is we have learned dependency.
Yes.
And what Monique is sharing, she's like, you have to unlearn the dependency, and you have to become a steward of your wealth. The reason we talk about this so much is because first you just have to understand the problem.
Mhm.
And if you understand the problem, then suddenly it's like this dependency cycle. So they get you first in college, then you have student loans, then you get a mortgage, then
Right.
you get one income source only, then you get no real raises that keep up with inflation. So
Mhm.
you're constantly losing value. Then you're putting your money over in a place where somebody else controls your money and
Mhm.
tells you that it's going to earn you money. And then somewhere like the market's hot right now, everybody's like,
Yeah.
these data centers are going to make us money. And I'm like, you are on a house of cards. And when I look at that,
Yes.
I we look so contrarian to the rest of the world looking at that house of cards that's going to blow over. And we're like, and people are like, are you guys insane? I'm making money. Yes, I'm making money too, but I get to keep mine.
Right. There's a
And that
difference.
there's a difference. I get to keep mine. I get to control mine. I get to say where mine goes. I get
Mhm.
to access it, sell it, move it, and do it under my terms, my wants, my things. And stewarding wealth versus the dependency, we learned this from
Mhm.
college on. Everybody is like, oh my gosh, I have to have a good credit score. I have to get my credit score up because my credit score. But I'm like, do you really believe that? Okay, I'm going to prove it to you right now. In 2008 and 2007, they didn't care about your credit score. They
Not at
gave
all.
ninja loans, no income, no job, no asset. Here's a loan. Do they
Yeah.
care about your credit score?
Not at all.
Only when it benefits them, never when it benefits you. So, if you have your own cash flow and your own assets, any bank will give you a loan.
That's so true. As you were talking and explaining like the different levels, right, of permission based college, and I was like, they got you.
Mhm.
Then you're in debt because you went to college.
Yep.
Okay. So my great job is going to help me pay that off. That's not a problem. Then your house. Okay. It's an asset. Or is it? And then you know
Depends
what I
on
just
where
came
it
out
is.
of? What I just came out of? Because now they want you in a gated community. And it's systematic. They want you to know and want to envy the person that's ahead of you. So I don't have a problem with saying, hey, I need a mentor or I'm not where I want to be at. You go, you read a book, you get the education, fine. But what are they putting in front of you to obtain? When you had the job at 18 at a fast food restaurant, you weren't thinking about 401k.
That's
They
true.
said, get your big girl job. Now you can get your 401k. Now you have health benefits. And now you have this. Now you got the whole package. This is a stack. And you're like, ooh, now I'm grown. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm investing in 401k. And now
I'm
I'm maxing that
adulting.
out. Yeah, I'm moving up the ladder. I'm maxing that out. I have my house now, kids, car. Okay, now when you get your house, go into a permission based neighborhood where you got
Mhm.
to ask in the HOA, can you do this? Can you do that? You can't plant your own food. I'm still upset. I'm still upset. I'm trying to just scream there from the rooftops, get out of the HOA. You can't even plant your own food. And then if you think about,
Flowers. You
yeah,
can't plant your own flowers.
plant anything without permission. And then you get a fee, you get a letter saying you didn't stay in the lines, the bylaws. So now you're being feed, and now you can, in North Carolina, you can be foreclosed on. That's a whole nother conversation. And, I'm
That's how
glad.
permission based you are. You can
Yeah.
be foreclosed on if you don't follow the rules to There's a difference between being a landowner and a homeowner.
Yes. I'm so glad that you just said that, Vicky, because I don't know if everybody heard that and understood what that is. You can own land that you control, that you can do anything that you want to with it. Once you own it, there's a list of things that you can do and build and grow because you own it.
Mhm.
You can have your garden, you can have your farm. You can, if you want to, you can do, um, paved lot, anything.
Storage business, anything. You
Yeah,
can make
anything.
your land multi-purposed income streams.
When you have your home, when you're a homeowner, you got to fix it. You got to ask permission. You can't hardly do anything. Your roof, like everything is cookie cutter. But it was the life that I signed up for. I had my rose-colored glasses on. I was like, okay, when I get here, they'll let me know I arrived. I get this house, I get this car, I get this. Now I'm spending like crazy.
Yeah.
Why am I spending and not observing? Because I'm smart. Everybody, you went to college, you're smart. You're capable. You can manage your own money, trust me. In real estate, you just need to be licensed. In the financial sphere, you just need a license too, right?
Yeah.
Go to school, study, learn. You can do it. Great.
Interesting, because it's like you don't need to be um you don't need to be stuck. They'll get you stuck.
Hmm.
But if you take a look at these license to you can go get financial licenses. You do not have to be wealthy to help the wealthy. What kind of logic is that? You just need to go get your licenses and then you can help the wealthy people. You could be a total, I don't know what I'm
Fake
doing. I just want your money. Come over
it
here
till
and
you
let
make
me
it.
control your money.
Yeah, you can fake it till you make it.
That's
You can
right.
have $0, low credit score. No, well, I don't think financial services. I think that they want you to line up a certain kind of way, but you don't have to have as much money as they do.
That's right.
And when I first got my financial planner, I didn't know. I was like, oh, it sounds so confusing. It sounds like a lot of information. And they were going over things with me, and I was like, oh, you're going to manage that here. Just set it and forget it. Go ahead and do what you do, and we'll pay you. And
And that's what they want. They want to make it look so convenient and don't you worry. And you feel proud. You're like, well, my money manager takes care of that. And then everybody's supposed to be so impressed. You have a money manager? Why, yes, I do. And so your ego is so split. That's the whole thing is the ego show. Once they
mm,
rub your ego here nice enough, you can see that this system is meant to keep you in place, stuck, constantly working, constantly complying, constantly. And this is the first part of it. Getting your money out of this system is very hard to do. It's not as easy as you
I
think.
know. Mm-mm.
Exiting some of the things here is very hard. The contracts are solid. So
Yes.
the way I have always seen it after I woke up to this piece is that when they have your money, they have your money. You'll be lucky if you get it back. So now let's start building something I can control, something
Yes.
that's there. So we're talking about cash flow veins. So
Hmm.
here's the thing. You want to find an identifiable group of people. So, I want to talk about what they teach you over here. Find your niche, find your purpose, find your passion. I am not going to tell you that because you want cash flow veins. If you had 9 cash flow veins giving you $50,000 each a month,
Hmm.
or even 50,000 a year, would you be looking for your niche or would you have built your niche? So the thing is, when we get to the point where we're building our niche, I don't want you to build a niche because the niche goes up and down. And believe me, there is only so much you can talk about golf or makeup or whatever your mine is beauty. I'll teach you about beauty. I like writing books is one of my niches that I have, made plethora of money from. but I want to get to the point where you understand what serving a group of people is.
Yeah.
So, for example, I was talking about this. It's in the book. I was talking about this with Monique just before the
Mhm.
show. I was talking about Coors beer.
Yes.
Now, Coors beer serves dudes,
Hmm.
and dudes are, from 18 to about pushing 30. They're dudes. They're not men yet, they're dudes. And so they have beer, pizza, video games, how to get a second date, and how to know this is the how do I become a man stage.
Yes.
There's a
Mhm.
point where dudes are all about the IPA, how many runs they did, how far they cycled, how fast they jogged today and what their time was, what they lifted in the gym. That's dude speak. So dudes are a group of people that you serve, but you're going to serve them. So
Mhm.
all the advertising when it's about dude speak is gyms, beers, burgers,
Mhm.
dating, etc. Then a man, well, I want to say this from Monique said, yes, but then they grow to the next step,
Yeah.
which is the cigars and whiskey
Mhm.
set where they're designer suits.
Yeah.
And they're suddenly interested in hanging out with other entrepreneurs
Mhm.
and they are talking. So if you're looking at these things, you're going to serve dudes, or what do we call this? Entrepreneurial men? What is this next men level?
Well, I look at it like this. I have sons. So I look at it and I tell them, I say, right now you're competing against other people. Soon you will be competing against yourself. You're going to
Yeah.
want to make yourself better. You're going to want to make your mind sharper. You're going to want to feel your best, look your best for you. Right now it's,
Mhm.
oh, I can run faster than you. Let's race, let's race. It's all the time.
That's right.
Or I can eat this burger. You're like, how many burgers can you eat? I can eat 20 hot dogs. It's always a
That's
competition.
that's the dude era.
Yeah, that's the dude there. You're always competing against another guy because you're trying
So
to prove your worth and show off,
we'll call that the let's see, the self-development man.
self-develop.
He starts self-development man. Um, and maybe in the self-development area of a man, the cigars and learning about whiskey, they're suddenly not drinking beers.
No.
Like they're not, dude, let's go get a burger and a beer. They're suddenly going for the cigars and the whiskey, and they want to look like clean somehow, not bro-esque, but
Yes, yes.
clean,
Mhm,
sharp. They want women to notice that they're they're upright and they're not um I don't know
I
what to
would
call it, but it's at next level.
I would even go as far as to say, Vicky, that they're switching careers too.
That's right.
Now they're going from a job to a career.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
not just, job hopping and trying to figure it out. They're like, okay, now I need to settle down. Now I want to own something. I think this may be the ownership level at this point because
Mhm.
they're owning who they are. They're owning their career. Now they're saying, okay, I can actually move up and make some real money versus door dashing all the time. Now I can eat healthier and cook at home. And you got that whole
Yeah.
shift going on there where we're golfing instead of, you know,
And men at this stage
second.
are usually looking for their queen, and
Yes.
they want to be the most attractive bee in the hive of
Mhm,
men. I'm the most attractive bee. And so what happens is they start the show off phase.
mhm.
The show off phase is I got money, I got the car, I got the house, I got the ride, I got the show off phase is really where it's like I want to get married and have my family and find my queen, and
Mhm.
that queen bee needs to see that I'm willing to go out and hunt and bring back to the hive every day, and so there's that kind of stage. And then there's what I call the man stage, where suddenly showing off just stops.
Yes.
And that
Mhm.
usually is when the marriage happens and the wife is pregnant. And in that show off stage, there's something that happens to like a man's soul where the protective, what my family needs and wants is my greatest
Hmm.
duty. So if we get to the point where we're looking at the hierarchy of knowing this, there are several cash flow veins that you can take. So that's like the men, the burgers. So you want to know your client to make
Yes.
a cash flow
Hmm.
vein, because you can walk your men. You could literally make the product
Yes.
that walks them from dude to manhood. I mean, real manhood. And if you're a guy, here's the layers. We just told you what they are. I want to take one more group, though. I want to talk about something that is different, that's hard, that is a cash flow vein,
Hmm.
that is tough. And that is people with certain types of illnesses. For example, dementia or diabetes.
Right.
These are big, big, you can cure this. So there are supplements and stuff in here, but over here, you can't. This is long term, slow, and it has several levels that are cash flow veins. And you can literally have a business that helps people take care of demented people. It's
Mhm.
not just, okay, now we put you in a nursing home. There's so much before that. There's so
Yeah.
much happening well before that. This is a long term, hard illness. Now, go ahead. Say what you were going to say.
I want to say this too. I know some people will look and they will do the research. You have AI now, so everybody's on their chat and they're trying to find the most, you know, the niche that will make them the richest the quickest.
Yes.
Not every vein is for everyone.
Mhm.
Like with dementia, you need patience, you need knowledge. That is not something, even though you
Yeah.
think, okay, I can sell a supplement, I can do something like that, you still want to be ethical.
Yes.
There's money to be made in your lane if you own it, but don't go reaching for what is hot and now or that you think like, healthcare, I mean, especially like think cancer, no cure right now. So you're going to be able to make money off of that and sell somebody a dream because you know they're reaching for hope.
That's
You know
right.
that somebody who has a dementia parent is saying, you know what, I want them to remember me. I want to help them out. I love my parents. I want to do whatever I can for them in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Don't go take advantage of people just because you're trying to make a dollar, because then
That's
you're
right.
not going to be self-satisfied. There was a
That's
young
so
man,
true.
and talking about the bro and the dude, there was a guy I was watching, just showed up on my feed, and he was doing hygiene. And he just did his get ready with me, whole brush his teeth, all these different products. And everyone kept saying, it's so nice to see a young man with a hygiene program. What products are you using? And he said, check my ebook, download my ebook. It's in my bio, and it has all the products. He forever went and shared. Everybody was going buying the ebook, and they were like, "Oh, da, 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 da. I'm sending this to my grandson. I'm sending this to my son. I'm sending this to, cousin, uncle, whatever." But he knew his audience, and
Yeah.
he's staying in his lane because his whole YouTube and Instagram is about moving from boyhood to manhood.
Yeah.
And I thought that was
Hygiene is a big one.
yes. And he's like an affiliate marketer. I mean, he sells crazy products just because he shows you the video of his routine and he just says, I'm moving from boyhood to manhood. And whenever you're looking at your audience and you're saying, hey, this is the community that I really want to serve. This is my domain. These are the people that I want to reach and improve their lifestyle and their livelihood. You can do it. There's enough to go around. I mean, what,
That's right.
12%? What were you quoting? You said 12% of the people reach 1%, but then they don't keep it. So where's that money going? That money is going to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want
That's
we
right.
want we want whoever's losing it and not keeping
We
it.
want clean smelling boys.
Yeah.
But I think that's such an important thing that you're making because that's the whole point of a cash flow vein. A cash flow vein is a journey with someone. So in the journey with someone, you are helping them have a new mindset and a transformation. I want to say that again. You're helping them have a new mindset and a new transformation. So, Monique and I are on this call right now, and we're on the call every week. We write it about it every day. We'd appreciate it if you take a moment and subscribe to Wealth Rules as well, because we're going to continue this conversation consistently. But we're trying to tell people, look, I get that this is big right now and it's trendy and everybody likes it and it looks sexy and it's roaring. But this market based wealth is nothing more than permission based wealth.
Mhm.
And it is not something that is going to keep you safe. It's not about you. You give them your money and you're in a gambling casino right now. There's so much corruption on this side in that market-based wealth that to protect your wealth, you need to know how to steward your wealth as well. So here we're talking about cash flow veins, and cash flow veins are things that are never going to run out.
Yes.
So they're going to be dudes who want to grow into men forever, and hygiene is a big area for men. The men go through that, I'll call it smelly boy stage, into, ooh, look, there are girls. And girls are like, yes, but could you shower first? Anyway, so that being clean and presentable, those are the stages of raising young men into men. And so now let's take nurses. Nurses are a group of people that they go into categories. There's ER nurses, pediatrician nurses,
Mhm.
geriatric nurses. There's just slews of nurses, but they get burnt out the quickest, burnt out the fastest.
Yes.
They have no other income source other than nursing, and they are on the job 12 hours a day because the nursing shortage is there. How can we help them take some of their income and make it into something that they can steward that isn't taking bajillions of hours away from them, helps them have a secondary income so that they're not just relying on one income that they can't get out of? And so what happens is they need a lot of mental health things.
Yes.
Nurses, they they feel the body, but if you're in the ER, imagine being the ER. So I'm an ex-cop. I know what it's like to get to the crime scene and be the first person at the crime scene over and over and over again. I know the shock I feel that went through my body. And imagine doing that 12 hours of shock every day while taking care of these women, while taking care of all these patients.
Yes.
So there's a whole process of how can you help them de-stress? How
Mhm.
can you help them unwind? How can you help them have better self-care? How can you help them have less trauma thoughts? Because you know they do.
Mhm.
What can you do for them? Maybe you're in the field where you have experience with this, but nobody thinks I'll do this for nurses. There's an open cash flow vein that nobody's teaching about.
Right.
Everybody's writing children's books for babies so you can read them. But there are blue ocean, and I just gave you one. I just gave
Right.
you an example of that right now,
Mhm.
nurses. But you have to pick an identifiable group of
Yes.
people to serve, people, not niches.
Mhm.
So I work with women who want to go from their 9 to 5 to having another second way to get paid so they can bridge themselves from year to year.
Mhm.
And then, Monique works with really high wealthy women who are looking at their options with their money outside of this market wealth and what they can do about it and all the things that they know about that. So there it is. You can look at the Wealth Rules 5 Years Plan and the book Hidden Rules that we both co-authored. And so here's a book, Hidden Rules. It's a dollar in the ebook form. If you can't spend $1 on yourself, you're crazy. Get the book and read this.
Right.
And also, do me a favor and subscribe, because the process of learning what a cash flow vein is helps you from making the mistake. Stop going for income streams. Stop doing passive income. There is nothing passive about passive income. And make sure you have ownership. There's a difference between I bought this fourplex or sixplex apartment and I got to remodel it and, put some money in it, but I own it versus
Hmm.
welcome to the REIT. We're going to have you, part of this team that's building this apartment building over here. And oops, oh, financial collapse happened. I'm so sorry. Your money's gone. Or we need more money from you.
Hmm.
You have to be able to have some stabilization in there. And the other is it's okay to take educated risk. It is
Yes.
not okay to take stupid risk.
Yeah.
And I believe there's so much stupid risk. I want to go back to the point you were making earlier about this is what's really important to me. I think this is the most important. Thank you for putting the link in, but what you said about being trained to have one income and being trained to have one business that has to
Yeah.
deliver everything. And I'm looking at for me, my broke free number, which happened a long time ago, was 4 businesses. I didn't have to have 7. I had 4 and a few of them boomed in a beautiful way. And then I bought some lucky assets that have produced well for me since then. And what I want to be able to say is, hey, Gail, nice to see you on. Know your audience, not niches. Often the teaching is to know your niche. Very enlightening. That's right. So often the teaching is to know your niche.
Yes.
So in serving the group of people, it's to know your experience, know your knowledge base so well that you can help an identifiable group of people. And I see a lot of people, well, golfers are an identifiable group of people. Yes, it is. But do you know golf in a way that is so important that that's what's going to happen? Your experience with golf, you've golfed with Arnold Palmer or something, or Tiger Woods or something. I'm so old. I said Arnold Palmer. Shh, don't tell anybody that. But that's the whole point. Now, Monique, I want to go ask you,
Hmm.
because I know you've made several income streams and you've bought several assets. And when you first went from here to here, what's the first cash flow vein that you decided to make, and why did you decide to make that particular cash flow vein?
Yeah, so I was really young when I first started out, but I started out with, so this is my first round with vending machines, and then I had a second round. But the first one was a vending machine because I knew that people always wanted something to eat. They always wanted a snack. And I put it in certain locations. Barbershops was one of them. I had a friend and I knew a couple of people that had brick and mortar businesses. And I was like, wow, every time somebody comes in here, they're always leaving work and hungry. They're always leaving somewhere and coming straight here, and they don't really have time to eat. And they always say, man, let me go run to the ATM and get some money. And at the time, they didn't have ATM machines like they do now, where you can just have them everywhere. And I was like, wow, what if I could just have a tin can, I mean, like a cash drawer where I
Yeah.
could have fives and ones and I could just break money for them, break 20s. Well, my family told me that was crazy and I was going to get robbed. So I was just like, but the mindset was, okay, I'm trying to solve problems. I'm trying to find where there's a need and then I'm going to provide a solution. And I was young, so I was like, it doesn't take a lot of money. I was just going to Walmart, Sam's Club, just buying stuff and then just reselling it. But I had enough different locations and enough clients to where, and the barbers that were there were on an honor system. So I would give them like 20% of whatever I made, and they would make sure that no one was stealing from me because it was be in the back.
Smart.
Yeah.
Did you see how she solved that problem? She solved that problem by making it so that somebody else benefited by the protection of that. Nice job.
So that was one of the first things. I mean, early on in my life, I got involved in real estate. One of the things there is that I had to have, I had like imposter syndrome. I was super young, and so everybody was saying, "Oh, you're too young to own real estate. It's not going to work out." So I was like, "Wow, I'm not old enough. I don't have the millions and millions of dollars in the bank. They don't think I'm able to do it." Like I was like, "Well, I'm here. I'm doing it, but should I be here? Should I be able to do this?" Because I did what I needed to do with my money up front. Because I was lucky. I was one of the people, we've talked about this on several shows that had somebody tell me up front, hey, gold, silver, get the stuff that you need to get, even if you buy a little bit at a time. And over time, it'll grow. And so my mind just went to ownership. It just went to, I need to start buying assets. And even though I'm working at 9 to 5, even though I'm working at a bank and I'm making good money, I need to make sure that I use some of my income to buy assets. And so that was one of the first things that I did. How about you, Vicky?
Well, I just want to say this. I when you were talking, I have this story about my son. And my
Mhm.
son, when he was 13 years old and he was in middle school, he ran home. You know how your kids run home and they don't care what you're doing, they just run in the door and they're like, "Blah, blah, blah, blah," really. So
Oh, yeah.
he's
They're
running in
super excited.
the door. Yeah. And I'm listening. I just stopped to listen. And he's like, there's this girl at my school, Jane Doe, and she went to Costco and she bought sodas and she's selling the sodas for 50 cents each now out of her locker. And I've got to do it. She's making money hand over fist. I got to do it. And she was like, we got to go to Costco right now. And I said, why would you sell sodas if somebody else is selling sodas?
Right.
And he stopped because she's making lots of money. But now the customer pool has to get in too. What if you sold candy bars instead of soda?
Hmm.
So, we went to Costco and I got him a set so he could put it in his locker.
Hmm.
He had 6 types of candy bar cash, or he made, without me saying, he made his own spreadsheet, like this bar sold this many and everything
Hmm.
else. So, he did it like he was flipping every single day. Every day he flipped all of it. Like he'd come home empty and he'd have to refill his stock
Hmm.
and come home empty. We had him run the whole business. And then, of course, it happened. It came in the mail. It came from the cafeteria.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
cease and desist
This.
order
Yeah. Hmm.
because he was competing with them. He had done so much business and the boy was loaded. I was proud of him. It turns
Yeah.
out the kids prefer candy bars over soda. Now, when I started that, I didn't know that.
Hmm.
She was the only show in town and she had soda. There were no candy bars.
Right.
So, and people were like, give me a candy bar today. I'll pay you tomorrow. And he goes, give me a quarter tomorrow and I'll give you a candy bar tomorrow. So he had his boundaries really in there.
Yeah.
So this cease and desist order came in, and I was thinking, how am I going to tell my boy that he
Hmm.
can't do business anymore? Because this happens, it happens. So I came home and I sat down and I read the letter and talked to him and said, we can't do that anymore. And he stood kind of shocked for a minute. He was like, but I can sell jewelry. And he got up and ran to his room and he was like, okay, I'll go to the farmer's market on the weekend. I'm going to make earrings and and he went right into that because he had learned that
Yeah.
cash flow vein. So you have to understand your cash flow vein. So here's how I started out. I'm going to tell you that my dad made his money illegally. He made drugs and he sold drugs, then he laundered the money and then he bought assets. So I was very embarrassed when I was younger. I was ashamed of what they did. I don't know about you, but I've been on a date where they ask you what your father does for a living and you know that your dad's in jail and you don't want to say, well, my dad's in jail on a first date meeting somebody's family. So I wanted to make money the legal way. So I flipped this way and I got every kind of license you could have to sell, buy, move, manage money. And I worked for several of the big firms. I did Janus Funds, Oppenheimer, Citigroup. I mean, I was everywhere. So I thought I saw thousands and thousands. And I did, when I was at Janus Funds or Citigroup, one of the places I did international accounting for.
Okay.
And then what happened was I realized that the contracts over here were horrific, and I could not ethically stay in this business or do this anymore.
Mhm.
But I had learned from the my youth to set up. At 19, the first thing I did, I'm geeky. I'm sorry. I'm really actually a very nerdy person, but I I learned about collecting coins until I was licensed as a dealer to collect coins. So I had gold and silver as
Mhm.
my standard here. And then I went into energy next. I've had the energy stuff that I have for, I don't know, over 34 years, but my dad helped me get into that there. And then, I started building businesses. And back then, there was no internet business.
Mhm.
But in 1995, when it came out, and I was in my 30s then, I started learning about digital wealth. And I bought digital wealth. Like I was lucky, I bought domains back when there were and domains are a great asset to have and hold, where
Mhm.
there were only 4 letters in them. So if you have USBI, so US Bank International,
Mhm.
USBI.com, you can't get that anymore. There are no 4-letter things. So I have a few of those that I bought way back when that are worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars now.
Mhm.
And every blue moon, I'll sell one. Like, here's a $50,000 4-letter .com. And so I started learning about that. And then I put my first um, stores online. And for me, that was really hard because HTML code, I still have in my mind that the lies that were told, which is learning coding is hard. It's not hard. Now it's not even necessary. But
Right
back
now,
then it was, you have to have your idea now. Pay more attention to your ideas and work those ideas into
yes.
cash flow. So for me, that is how I started to build. Then I did eBay, which I love eBay so much. It was the big eye opener for me. I would put an auction up on a Thursday
Mhm.
and I would close it on Sunday and I would ship it on Monday. And I remember the first eBay auction I did, I made $8,000 on a weekend.
Mhm.
And I was like, do I even need to work the rest of the month? But, you know, I wanted to see if this was a one off. So I did it
Right.
over and over and over and over again. So you
Absolutely. You
had
gotta
8
do it
times
again.
4. That's right. And I was like, okay. So I flipped it and I did eBay and took all the money because I was doing, let's say, somewhere between 5 and 12,000 on a weekend, depending on
Mhm.
what it was.
Right.
So to let you know what I sold that made $5 to $12,000, because people are like, well, if I auction on eBay, I auctioned numismatic coins to people who had collections that wanted the collections, and the rarer the coin, the higher the auction. So
Mhm.
if I put a really rare 1893S, really good one on eBay,
Mhm.
um, it would sell for thousands of dollars. And I could literally sell 4 to 6 coins on a weekend and make somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000. So now it's different. This was back in the late 90s, now early 2000s. No, it was later than that because I was in London then. I wrote books. That was my first kickoff.
Mhm.
My first kickoff was writing a book and going on stage and talking.
Right.
So that's when that happened. So there's a lot of there's so many cash flow veins
Yes.
over the time that I've done. It would be easy if I made like an ebook that said, this is how you build this cash flow vein, or this is how you build this cash flow vein.
Mhm.
But I wanted everyone to know today that how you stay rich is first understand the problem.
Yes.
It's not one job. It's not one company. If you know what's the stat, Monique, for how long most businesses fail in the first year, like, is it 90% of them or 80% of them, that mm,
I mean,
that fail?
I don't. I want to get the exact number. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. And this is kind of the things you have to know. If you're betting on one, what's the data?
According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 20% of small businesses fail within the first year, and then roughly 50% fail within 5 years, and about 65% fail within 10 years.
Okay, so you're looking at having 5 to 10 years. Well, if you only have one business, you've put yourself on the chopping block. Because I got to say, I've never had less than 4 businesses, and I have been on unsuspecting chopping blocks, just for no reason at all. A regulation can change
Yeah,
and your business closes tomorrow. You don't know what you don't know. So depending on one income source is crazy, whether it's a job or whether it's a business. You want
agree.
cash flow veins, you want a group of people that you serve, you
Mhm.
want to know and have experience inside that group of people that can help them long term. So, from a dude to a man, this is the stages they're going to go through, and this is how you do it. I don't know if you know Miss Manners or whatever it is that you have that you can share and do. Know your client, not your niche. Know your
Yeah.
client.
Mhm.
So, I want to know, is there anything else you want to share with them before we close out today?
Let me take a look here. I had some notes for the show.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, something got caught in my throat.
Do you have
Um,
any water there?
I do, but then I told them to take it, so it's fine. Getting rich and staying rich, we're talking about that, requires, in my opinion, two different skill sets. So a lot of times, whenever I took a high risk, I got a high reward. That's a cliche, but it's the truth. Being an early adopter, getting in or saying, you know what, I'll take a risk on it. Well, it really paid off. But being risky doesn't sustain wealth.
That's true.
When I got into the wealth part of it, I was like, okay, now I've got to find out. Because one thing that happened, and we're talking about this shift, when you're growing in income and you're wanting to create more money with your income. Now
Mhm.
you're making more income. You're like, what can I do with it now? Everybody is wanting to multiply their money. Nobody wants to just bury it. So you make 500,000. You're like, okay, you know what? Now I have the money. Now I want to invest it. Now I want to do something to really, leave a great legacy. Anyway, I was at that point, and so I started doing, private equity and got into all that. But instead of being risky, I had to say, is that a good deal? Now I'm investing more money. I can lose more money. Sure, I'm making more money, but who wants to lose thousands and thousands of dollars? So I had to start vetting deals and not based on somebody else's opinion. Now it was what do I think is a good deal for me and my family? What risk am I willing to take? Sometimes I would take a risk and it just wouldn't be there. It wouldn't it wouldn't work out. And then I looked, we always talk about this. I looked into hotels, I looked into apartments. I started asking
Mhm.
more questions. They don't like it when you ask questions. When you ask questions, their whole deck of cards falls apart.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why would I do that? That doesn't make sense. So you really have to step back and you have to really evaluate what you want to do with your money in the wealth game. And then when you're just looking for being rich, you just want to generate income, be risky all you want to, because that might be how you get to the million. But when you're trying
Mhm.
to steward it, you really need to stop and take a step back and say, how can I really steward this? And what do I want to own and what do I want to control?
Yeah.
Talking about the gold ETFs versus actual gold bars and how they're selling like hotcakes. Of course they're selling because everybody's nervous about the dollar. So
Mhm.
you're gonna sell gold, you're gonna sell
Yeah.
silver. And when they run out of that, they're gonna sell the ETFs, which you don't own and which you don't control, which you already, stated. You have to have so much money in the ETF before you can even sell it.
Yeah.
Who wants to be locked in? Who wants to be locked into a 401k where if I need it for an emergency, if I need to take out a loan, now I'm penalized, now I'm taxed, now I'm trapped. I can't even take my money out. And that was the deal that you sold me when you told me to be obedient, get a job,
Yeah.
invest in a 401k, grow your business. I didn't know about wealth. So that's why this conversation on how to stay rich is so important. The cash flow veins, whenever you have, I'm sorry, the cash flow and then the cash flow veins. And then whenever you do know your customer, whenever you do have your community and you're not just sitting on one. We've been taught, get that one good job, go to college and get one good job. Why do you need two jobs? That one job should be enough. That one job should pay your bills. You can have time with your family. And what they fire you, especially right now, AI is not playing. It is
That's
taking
right.
leverage left and right from the middle income, from the high earners. I hear it and see it all the time. I'm like, wow, you got laid off. You've been working that job for years. Like you are almost at retirement, but you're
Yeah.
not safe. You're
Yeah.
not safe. So you've got to own and you got to control it. And that's why we're here having this conversation today. And I'm so glad for Wealth Rules. I'm so glad that we're able to speak on it. And like Gail was saying, they're teaching you to know your niche and not know your customer.
Yeah.
We're on here explaining everything in a contrarian way, and I'm here for it. This is why
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
came together.
Yeah. And I think, Monique, what you said is so important because the difference between a cash flow vein and cash flows is trust. In a
Yes.
cash flow vein, you're serving an identifiable group of people and you're building trust with them. So they buy over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. A cash flow vein is an offer. Hey,
Yeah.
don't you want to learn how to do and get an email list? Hey, don't you want to learn and how to do AI? You can learn how to do video AI, this AI, da da da. That is a niche. And
Yes.
over here, when you serve a cash flow vein, whether it's dudes or moms or nurses, everything that we shared with you today, once you've built that into them and they know you're serving them and serving their cause, they buy the $7, then they buy the 27, then they buy the 47, then they buy the 97, then they buy the 297. They buy that all the way into your high ticket item because you're serving them in that way for a long time.
Yes.
So if you take a look at Oprah,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. The authors of the world would kill to have 1 hour with Oprah because she can sell 500,000 books in an hour.
Yes.
And that's why, because of the trust she's built with her audience. So what you do first as a cash flow vein is the hardest thing to do, which is build your audience first,
Mhm.
which is what we're doing. We build trust. And it looks like giving your best material out and telling people, look, when this breaks, it is not going to be repairable. There's going to still be no trust. When this starts and you get a bunch of people over here, they're going, "Oh, it worked. This works. I think it worked." They're over here for the rest of that volume of time. And that's the point that Monique is trying to make when we talk about knowing your client, know your customer, know who you serve.
Mhm.
But more importantly, she said, know what you're about, know what your experience is. Hers was, hi, I was really young, and a lot of people tried to talk me out of it. And they said I didn't have enough of this, but I went and I got my first real estate deal. Then I just kept going and going and going and going and going. And so at this same time that you're looking at all these cash flow veins, it is the only way forward is to build cash flow veins now.
Yeah.
People don't trust the market. They don't trust the government. They don't trust their doctors. They don't trust schools. They don't trust the mortgage brokers. There's so little trust in the world right now. And when you earn somebody's trust, that is the best asset you can own.
Yes.
So now we're at the end of the show. We've gone over about 20 minutes. My bad. But thank you for sharing your wisdom and everything else. Listen, the show goes on. Please subscribe to the podcast right now. Just take some time and subscribe to Wealth Rules and the Wealth Rules Substack. And next week we're going to continue the conversation about how to stay rich,
Yeah.
and it's how to build riches. So when
Mhm.
we're talking about how to build riches, it's easier than you think. It's less time consuming than you think. So yeah, I think Monique and I'll see you next week. Is there anything you want to say before bye except bye?
Now, get the book, Hidden Rules.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about the 7 R's from Vicky is the #1 best-selling author. Cash Flow Mojo could change your life. I'm just saying these books are out there. They're on Amazon, less than $1. If you invest in yourself today, you're like, what can I do? How can I start? I don't know where to start. Talking about how to stay rich. I need to get rich first. Great. You're in the right place at the right time. So, and thank
Thanks
you for
for the
joining.
shout out.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
absolutely.
All right, you guys, we're getting out of here. We'll talk to you later. Thank you for being on the show with us today. Rochelle V. Gray. I have my copy. Oh, that's so good. I want to say that it's nice to meet you, Rochelle V. Gray, because lately my favorite song is Go Be Great. And it was written for you. So it's very nice to meet you. Thank you for being on the show. I'm glad you have your copy. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.